yeah, baby. Oh, yeah. You've stumbled upon it. You're just living your life. Everything's beautiful, happy, and free. But one day, you were on YouTube, and you maybe accidentally, too, stumbled upon the fabulous, unreal, simply amazing Clark the Shark Show. The show with the MC DJ microphone guy, me, Clark the Shark, who has the smoothest, fastest, most tasteful delivery anywhere in the entire universe. Even UFOs and aliens are like,
we can't keep up with Sharky.
At 1-800-449-8255, the Clark the Shark Show, baby, where I'm talking about one of the greatest albums in the history of all recordings. And I'm not kidding, you guys. Of course, I'm talking about the fabulous, amazing, unbelievable Todd Rundgren and the NAZZ, one of Clark the Shark's favorite albums. Come on, you know that. Now, this album, released in 1968, you know what the weirdest thing to me about this album, you guys, is it was recorded in early 68. So it's got that sound, you know, almost like 1967. But then it was released in like October, like later on in the year. And by the time this album was released, you know, things had changed in 1968. This sound probably seemed a little dated to people back in the day. Nonetheless, nevertheless, you guys, this is an incredible album and it's timeless. It's like a combination of, I don't know, The Who, The Beatles, Cream, the Yardbirds. Man, it's got it all. And yet none of those. These songs with all the killer guitar from Rundgren, heavy guitar, you guys, melodic, atmospheric, backing vocals galore, keyboards, organ. Oh man, you know Shark is in heaven when I listen to great albums like this one by the NAZZ. Their debut album, 1968, you guys. And, you know, a few people have emailed me and, you know, being kind of accusatory, like, Sharky, don't you know about the NAZZ? And I'm like, hey, you guys, I try to review every album, you know. It's hard, dude. I want to review albums that you might know, but you know me, Sharky, I'll dig deep and go underground. Now, when I lived in San Diego, Vista, California, at Sycamore Ridge Apartments, you know, the one with Robin, the lady in the front office. Well, I moved out of there January 1st of 2019. I was actually forced out because my neighbor who lived down below me was this guy who would Google me and he'd be like, oh, Clark Hagens, Clark, Greenhouse Effect, drummer. And then what the guy would do is he would go to Robin in the front office at Sycamore Ridge, you know, right across from Stater Brothers near Shadow Ridge Drive, Vista, by the 78. Come on, you people who live down there. You're all laughing, rejoicing right now because Clark the Shark is talking about none other than the beloved Robin. Now, Robin, the lady in the front office, would believe this clown that lived beneath me. And she'd come over and be like, Clark, quit drumming in your apartment. And I think this guy actually saw me moving my drums one time because the rent got so high, you know, because of all the illegal aliens getting driver's licenses that the Democrats gave them and driving our rent up. You know, when I moved in there in 2010, my rent was $1,000 a month. And then in 2018, my rent was like $1,750 or something. I mean, maybe $1,800. It had almost practically doubled, you guys. And I have nothing against people from all over the world coming and crowding into California. And oh, you guys think you're living so good here, making me and my wife homeless and driving up our rent because you got 6 of you all living in one apartment. Yeah, that's genius. And then you try to call me, Clark the Shark, a racist because me and my wife, we got no kids and there's just 2 of us. But next door, you got 8 people from Belize or Costa Rica or wherever, El Salvador, living 9 people deep. Well, yeah, duh. The rent's going to go to $3,000 a month. And then yours truly, your humble microphone guy, Clark the Shark, well, me, I'll end up homeless. That's right, at 1-800-449-8255. Me, along with all the other non-college degree, fat, overweight white guys who are 50 and up. Yeah, we'll end up homeless. So too will all the white drug user guys and a lot of black people and a lot of Hispanic people too, and Asian people. A lot of us will end up in the streets because we can't pay $3,000 a month, Robin. But you know who can? Oh, all the people here from Mexico or Ukraine or Russia or Poland or Moldova or Greece or, I don't know, Czechoslovakia, Germany, Italy, all over the world, Brazil, Colombia, they all fly into California on a jet. Then the Democrats give them a driver's license, and then boom, they take your job, they devalue your job, and then they up your rent. So if you're some tweaker white guy that used to work at Starbucks and, your rent was $8.50, 8 years ago, well, guess what? Now that everybody from Colombia is here, your rent is now $3,000 a month, and 8 people from Colombia can afford the rent, but not you. That's right, you, Clark the Shark. You're homeless at 1-800-449-8255. And not only are you homeless, but you're called a racist because you don't like the $3,000 a month rent that the Democrats are giving us with help from their friends at Fox News and the Republicans like Sean Hannity, who'd be like, oh, Clark, let the free market decide. Like Hannity and Mark Levin and Hush Bimbo would all be like, hey, Clark, why don't you just go make more money? Hey, Clark, why don't you just go make more money, Clark? And then you can compete with 8 Mexicans who pay $3,000 a month at 1-800-449-8255. No, I don't fucking think if I was even a millionaire, I can compete with 8 people living next door to me, raising my rent to $3,000 a month right here on the fabulous, amazing Clark the Shark Show at 1-800-449-8255 from the golden EIB Sharkerphone. But we're not talking about high rent and Robin at Sycamore Ridge and the fact that Clark and his wife, who lived there for 10 years, were driven out of there. Supposedly by the neighbor who said I was drumming, but I don't think so. I think Robin looked at me and Valita and she said, these 2 ain't going to make it. They ain't going to be able to pay $2,000 a month. And you know what? Robin was right because Robin was like, let's get rid of Clark and Valita and get some more Latinos. And 9 of them will pay $3,000 a month. We don't need Clark. He's a racist. We need more Latinos and people from Ukraine and Poland and Russia who are all escaping that war and coming here to California. Isn't that right, Robin and Sycamore Ridge and you Democrats? And you too, Hannity and Levin. Let the free market decide, Clark. Yeah, go out and get a degree at age 58. And you can pay $3,000 a month. At 1-800-449-8255 on the Clark the Shark Show. But I'm not talking about Fox News bloated blowhards or CNN douchebags who raise my rent to $3,000 a month. I'm talking about this amazing album by the NAZZ and Todd Rundgren. And I'm going to break down these songs, you guys. because I love me some Rundgren. And of course, Open My Eyes, the very first song, just 248, but what a song greets you on side one. And right away, you are transfixed. You are like, oh my God, what is this? This song is incredible. Open My Eyes, melodic, driving, kick ass, you guys. And of course, Back of Your Mind has a Cream vibe, of course. And you know, if you got DirecTV 8 tracks like me down in San Diego, I was beginning to say when I lived at Sycamore Ridge, I would hear Back of Your Mind a lot down there. Back in, 2015, 16, 17, as my rent was rising and my apartment was slipping away. Oh, by the way, my job at Community T Sweeney swimming pool service, it slipped away too when the Democrats did AB 5. That was the law that got rid of subcontractors in California and got rid of yours truly, me, Clark the Shark, where I had to suddenly work for someone and they had to suddenly buy me health care and all that red tape, which they didn't want to do. So Sweeney said, you know what? I don't need Clark the Shark at 1-800-449 8255. I'm going to get rid of Sharky and hire that guy, Tony. I'll just leave it at that, you guys. Back of Your Mind, great song. I don't care what you guys out there say to me in person. I only care what you think of Shark in the back of your mind. Incredible song, Cream driven, great guitar by Rundgren, incredible drums, you guys, on this album. And see what you can be. That's like me, Sharky. If I only had a degree, baby, oh, what I could be. If I was 6'3" and good looking and not 5'6" and a Sharky, fuck, dude. See what you can be. What a song. 3 minutes. Awesome. You hear that one on DirecTV 8 tracks too. And of course, Hello, It's Me, which later became a Todd Rundgren classic. Oh, but the version by the NAZZ, you guys have got to hear. It is so melodic with the beautiful vocals. And one thing about this album, there are harmony vocals galore all over this. It's almost kind of a little like the Beach Boys meets Cream or something. It's killer, you guys. And Wildwood Blues, a group effort, you guys. I love group effort songs. I love Todd Rundgren, but it looks like on this song, he decided to let the whole band write, Wildwood Blues is one of my favorite songs on the whole album, track number 5. But side 2, this album gets better, you guys. Don't ask me how. If That's the Way You Feel is probably my favorite song on the whole album. It's like mellow, with the keyboard set to almost sound like violins, or maybe it is violins. You know me, Clark the Shark. I love mellow songs. And if that's the way you feel, you guys, about Clark the Shark, that's fine with me. But as long as you come to the Clark the Shark show and you listen to incredible music and you learn about it, like the NAZZ and When I Get My Plane, baby, what a song. Man, like one of the songs on side 1, killer. Todd Rundgren at his best, you guys. And man, what a song. The Lemming song. Like Country Joe and the Fish, it's like killer drums. This album gets really heavy and hard and driving with this guitar and these driving drums, man. And the Lemming song, I just get a Country Joe vibe, but better, an updated vibe, you guys. And some of these songs, I get like a 1966 vibe. Even though this is 1968, I love that 66 vibe, you guys. I love it. And one of my favorite songs on the album, of course, is track number 9, Crowded, killer. Man, it'll make you happy. Listen to that song. And it's not by Rundgren. Track number 9's by Mooney and Stookie, baby. and it's one of the best songs on the album. I've heard it on DirecTV 8 tracks down there, you guys. And She's Going Down is just this heavy fucking awesome song with the drum solo. And you know me, Clark the Shark, I love drum solos, but it's like this whole album, you guys, is a drum solo. I mean, it's so killer, you guys. Every song is melodic, atmospheric, amazing. Gosh, I kind of wish Rundgren had never gone solo and that this band would stay together forever, you guys. One of the greatest bands of all time. Todd Rundgren's guitar and Robert Stuckey and Tony, killer, dude. Of course, Carson Van Osten on bass, master bassist. And Tom Mooney, this drummer is the real Mooney, baby, not Keith Moon. It's this guy. This guy is amazing on drums. And this band, the NAZZ, truly one of the greatest bands of all time, you guys. And you know they're great if me, Clark the Shark, at 1-800-449-8255 from the fabulous golden EIB Sharkerphone. It's not a microphone, you guys. It's a Sharkerphone. Because right here on the Sharky Show, when I'm talking about the NAZZ, I mean business, baby. And I mean this debut album is not just one of the greatest debut albums ever recorded. It's one of the greatest albums, flat out, period, ever in the history of rock and roll mankind. The NAZZ. What an album. And I'm going to review their next album, and it's incredible, too. And don't ask me how this band got covered up and buried, you know, by the Stones and the Who and the Beatles and, you know, the Beach Boys and all those other bands, Cream, because these guys are every bit right there with any band as one of the greatest bands in the world, and they belong in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I think they are in it, and so is Rundgren, but if they're not, you guys, the NAZZ as a band needs to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, if only just for this one album, you guys. This is one of the greatest albums in the history of music, never mind rock and roll. And believe you me, you guys, I've listened to the NAZZ since I was young, and there's so many more albums, you know, I got to review, you guys, and I can only do so many. This takes energy every night to do this, and I'm 58, and, you know, I got things to say other than music, inside the music, as it relates to my memories, you know, like living at Sycamore Ridge and just how bitter I got watching that place, the way it was in 2010 when me and Valita first moved in, and to the way it ended up where you couldn't park. There was no parking out on Hibiscus on both sides of the street. I mean, our country just turned into like Venezuela, you guys. You think that's good? You people from other countries, you think it's cool to come here and fucking wreck my country and then call me a racist? You guys fucking think you aren't racist? You are, you guys. You come here to America, raise our rent, you guys, overcrowd our streets, people driving around 95 miles an hour, DUIs everywhere, wrecks all the time now in California because of what the Democrats did with the driver's licenses, as facilitated by Republicans who like the cheap labor. Yeah, I never see many Republicans backing me up. You notice that? They're always like, oh, come on, lighten up, Shark. Let the free market decide. All the people here overcrowding everything. You know, there's a traffic jam everywhere. People driving around 90 miles an hour, and there's wrecks everywhere. And it takes you 5 minutes to get somewhere that used to take 10 seconds, and it takes you an hour to get somewhere that used to take 5 minutes. Well, you got to let the free market decide, Sharky. And the free market says, we like cheap labor. We don't need you anymore, Sharky. You're too old, and besides, you're racist. At 1-800-449-8255. Get off my show, you big dope. This is Mark R. Levin on the Clark the Shark Show. 1-800-449-8255. Yeah, sure, Fox News. Facilitators. You love the cheap labor. And you guys like the cheap vote, too. Just as much as Democrats do. Don't you guys? I never hear Tucker Carlson talking about high rent. I never hear Hannity talking about high rent. I never hear Mark Levin talking about high rent. That's because they can all afford high rent at 1-800-449-8255 on the Clark the Shark Show. But back in the days when I lived at Sycamore Ridge in Vista, California, I would listen to the NAZZ because once upon a time, me, Clark the Shark, I could afford cable TV and my rent. I could afford DirecTV 8 tracks or Time Warner or whatever, but now I can't because everything's too expensive in California now, and it's coming to a state near you too, all over the country, right here on the Clark the Shark Show, 1-800-449-8255. So remember, when some Democrat or transgendered Republican calls you a racist, well, he can add one more word to you: homeless, at 1-800-449-8255, because that's what you are, because your rent is $3,000 a month. Brought to you by CNN, but also brought to you by Sean Hannity and all the other greedy fucks up in Beverly Hills, Rancho Santa Fe, and Palos Verdes. That's right, isn't that true? But I like the purity of the NAZZ and Rundgren. Fuck politics. Who cares if you're homeless? Who cares if you go to the store and eggs cost $20 for a carton? Who cares, Fox News, right? Who cares, CNN, with your distractions about nothing? You know what? When Trump was president, he didn't do shit for California. He didn't talk about the high rent or the overcrowding or the crowded freeways or people driving 90 miles an hour. Everything's expensive. I didn't hear Trump say shit. You know what? I think Trump likes the high rent. I do, because he owns buildings and he doesn't like low rent or rent control. So it seems, people, we're all on our own. We don't have a friend in Trump, and we don't have a friend at CNN, and we don't have a friend anywhere. And you people out there in your little circles, you think you have friends, but maybe someday you'll be divorced and alone, or maybe homeless, or maybe someone will just get in a car wreck and they'll be gone, and suddenly your life will be turned upside down on a dime. And then we'll see if you can afford $3,000 a month when you're all alone. Right here on the Clark the Shark Show at 1-800-449-8255 from the fabulous golden EIB Sharkerphone, where I just gave you a review of the NAZZ, the only accurate, totally on target review that you will ever need and you will ever want. And I gave you some politics too, whether you want it or not. And I'm out of here. Peace.